Rappin with ReefBum is sponsored by Marine Depot.
Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Rappin with ReefBum. I'm your host, Keith Berkelhamer, and tonight on the show we have Alex Correa. Hey, Alex, what's up, man?
Hey, how's it?
Pretty good.
How you doing?
It's like to have you on. Alex is a very loyal viewer to the show. It's got a lot of strong opinions about stuff, but we're gonna kind of dig into a couple of different topics tonight. But let me just give some more background on Alex, just so you folks are more familiar with him. He has, according to his words, been fascinated with aquarium since he was 6 years old and had his first freshwater tank when he was 10. And now I think I did the math correctly. You moved on to saltwater fish only tank when you were 22? Is that accurate?
Yeah, about that,
okay.
yeah.
So he started to volunteer at the Waikiki Aquarium in 1995, working for Charles Delbeek, maintaining both saltwater and freshwater systems, and later worked for Dr. Bruce Carlson, helping to maintain the coral farm at the aquarium. So those are certainly some awesome folks to learn from. And he also volunteered as a mentor for the Marine Option Program. Am I saying that correctly? Marine Option Program
Marine
at the
Option
University
Program,
of Hawaii in 2003. And he worked for one of the best companies in Honolulu, Wayne's Ocean World. Sounds like that's a copyright infringement on Wayne's World. That received, maintained, and exported marine tropical fishes around the globe. Maybe Wayne's World was after that. And he's also written articles for various magazines and books published in Brazil, Portugal, Italy, the US of A here, and in the UK. In addition, Alex contributed to the Reef Aquarium Volume 3 by Charles Delbeek and Julian Sprung, and worked with Alf Nielsen on his latest book, which was published in 2016, providing samples and images. I mentioned that Alex is a frequent viewer of the show. And, well, anyway, Alex, again, welcome to the show, and psyched to have you here. Really looking forward to having a discussion with you. But just before we start chatting, I want to just take care of a little business and thank the show's sponsor, Marine Depot. I really appreciate Marine Depot being a supporter of the show, and I also appreciate all you folks that have been tuning in, watching the program. So please spread the word about the show. Hit that like button. If you're digging what you're watching, hit that like button, because more people will find us And also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button to the ReefBum channel to help me out there a little bit. All right, so now that we've taken care of that business, Alex, and for the folks that are viewing, I see there's a whole bunch of comments already in the channel. I'll do my best to keep track of that. We also have Ginger Bee Coaching as the moderator on the live stream tonight. I see some familiar faces: Greg Carroll, Brock B, and Michael Schur. Wow, Michael, thanks for tuning in, man. Glad to have you on the live stream here. Algae Warrior, hey. What's up, everybody? So, Alex, there's and I encourage you folks to ask a lot of questions in the chat so we can get a good dialogue going back and forth. But can you provide more information in terms of how you became a volunteer at the Waikiki Aquarium? You were telling me that story before we might have been last week when we were talking, and I just found it pretty fascinating, how all that came to be.
Well, I came to Hawaii in 1995, and then I went with my wife to look at the aquarium, and we were not settled yet. And then when I saw the tanks and everything, I was like, oh man, I want to see behind the scenes. So I went to the front desk and asked the lady, "Can I see behind the scenes, please, please, please?" And I was like, oh, I don't think she's gonna allow me to. And she said, "Oh, sure. I'm gonna call one of the biologists, and he can show you behind the scenes." And then she called Charles, and then Charles came and talked to me. It was like, oh man, I can't believe I'm going back there. I couldn't even speak English well because I actually didn't even know how to speak English when I came here. Very he took me back, and I look. Oh my God, look at this stuff, man! And can I take pictures from the top? And, I was so crazy about it. I never had reef tanks in Brazil before I came here. I never had the reef tanks. I saw like Rio, where I used to live. And it was like, oh, what is this stuff around the rock? And the guy said, it's a live rock. Well, what does it eat? And it was like, oh, you got to put this special water in. They didn't know anything about it. Anyways, Charles showed me everything, and I was thinking, man, I am so lucky. And then I said, well, can I work here? He said, yeah, you can volunteer. I said, oh, no money? No money.
For free?
I was like, oh man. And I look at my wife was with me, and I was like, no money? Oh, no way, man. And then when I got home, I said, you know what? I'm going there. I'm gonna work for these people. But the most interesting thing is when I left the back of the scenes, I went back to the galleries again, and there was a bookshop. So a gift shop, they call a bookshop. I went to look at the books because I wanted to see the pictures on the books and stuff. And I saw a book. I looked at the book, and oh my God, this book is really nice. And I opened the book. Oh my God, I don't know how even the Americans can understand. This is all scientific stuff, man. I was looking at the pictures, few pictures only, but a lot of information. I said, I want to learn English with this book. And when I look at the back, I saw Charles' picture. I look at my wife. I said, I'm here, man. I'm gonna work with this guy, man.
This is for me.
I'm gonna learn everything. So yeah, my passion for corals has been, it's in my heart for a long time. When I first set up my saltwater aquarium, I had only dead corals, but I remember I used to look at the dead corals and look, oh man, how this would look alive, and how can we keep this alive in the aquarium? So I didn't know how blessed I was when I started to work there. And Charles never gave me easy life. I was like, oh man, I have to work hard. I used to work a lot, and it was pure pleasure. It was pure pleasure.
What were some of the typical things you would you would do as a volunteer?
I used to do everything the students would do. For example, clean the glasses. I had maybe 7 systems that I used to work with, including the fresh water. Clean the glasses, remove the gravel, because we had an under gravel. I can't even talk too much about what I do and I did at the aquarium because of, the policy that they have. So, but anyways, I did the gravel, everything that you can imagine. We removed the backdrops and acid the backdrops, all kinds of stuff like this. And it was because it was like about 7 aquariums, 7 tanks. It took from, I used to be there 6 o'clock in the morning. Only
wow.
Bruce Carlson was there. I used to arrive there. I was like, I want to sleep at the aquarium. I'm so crazy for these corals. I want to sleep at the aquarium.
So hold on, how many hours would you spend a day as a volunteer?
About 6 hours.
Wow, that's a lot.
6 to 7 hours, maybe. Yeah. And to the point that my wife would call the aquarium, because back then I didn't have cell phone. My wife used to call the aquarium, and Jerry Crow, one of my friends, I love Jerry Crow. He's a shark person, and jellyfish. He studied about jellyfish. He's a scientist. He used to call me, Alex, your wife. I was like, oh, man, I have to go home.
They had to tear you away, huh? So what was it? What was it like working for both, Charles and Bruce? Those are such knowledgeable guys. I mean, what did you learn from those guys? Like everything?
Like I said, he never gave me easy life. I would have to study by myself most of the time and ask him questions. He was so busy, most of the time so busy. It was almost hard to talk to him about any subject. And I would have to ask him, like, give him can you tell me this? I ask one question, okay? One question. But that question, you know how it is, huh? 10 questions after. And he was like, yo, you asked only, you said you were going to ask one question only, Alex. Come on, I don't have time for it. It was so hard to dialogue with him because so much work to be done.
Yeah.
Okay? And my English is not perfect still. I never went to a school to learn English here. And I have the Brazilian accent and the local accent also because I learned over here. So it was like, oh man, he didn't have time to deal with me, and the English was so poor at the beginning. I don't blame him. But just to work with him and watch him, and Bruce is amazing. Bruce is an amazing person. He is so humble. And Charles is humble too. Bruce especially. He's so humble. He many times, you talk to him, scientific words come from the mouth like nothing. You talk to this kind of people, the scientists, they talk, the scientific name is the regular name of the coral. They don't call these cartoon names.
Right.
That we are.
They're not playing the name game there.
Yeah, the name game. I don't like that. I don't like Mucho Reef from Reef Central knows me. He will remember. Me and him, we used to go like, oh man, we don't like this cartoon name stuff, and everybody else liked.
I remember Mucho Reef.
So
is Mucho Reef still around? I don't recall seeing Mucho Reef.
I don't know, but me and him, we were on it. Like, hey, stop this cartoon name stuff. It's all about profit, and it is. It is.
Yeah, things are really
and
changed.
It became normal. Changed a lot. I think this hobby has regressed in many ways. That's the truth. I mean, it's not because I'm they call old school, whatever you can call me. We try to adapt to things, but we want to keep the good stuff. We don't want to regress. When you don't talk about scientific names anymore, the new generation is not going to learn that. It's just like just about like lighting, anything else in the hobby. If you don't teach the new generation, if you teach wrong or agree with the wrong stuff coming and playing with it, the hobby is gonna regress. It's not gonna evolve. And this is scary. To me, this is scary, especially about lighting. But I don't know if you want to talk about lighting.
You want to jump right into it?
Talk about the rocks. We can talk about the rocks.
I was gonna play a video of your tank first before we jumped in the whole lighting discussion. Yes. But I mean, so circling back to the Charles and Bruce, part of your experience, were there any major takeaways that you got from those guys in terms of reef keeping? Did you learn anything? That
discipline, respect, um, hygiene. Don't mix. Do not mix tanks. Like if you're working in one tank, you don't want to. You gotta wash your hand. Everything is really clean before you touch the other tank. That was one huge thing that I learned, and I still do it when I have two tanks in the house. I don't mix tanks. I don't go and play with one and bring to the next one. No, I try to avoid doing that, even though I have only Hawaiian zoantids in my systems. But every time that I had through my life that I had two tanks in the house, I tried as much as I can to minimize the contamination and stuff like that. What else? I learned a lot about not asking too much, because they can get tired of it real fast, and the level is different. My level is nothing close to them. I know that. I know my place. So I wish I could talk more, and hours and hours and hours. Even today, I don't have access to Charles anymore. You know, I saw him at MACNA 2010, and I text him all the time. But it comes to a time that he's working. I mean, unfortunately, we all have our limits in talking and time to spend with, talking about reef tanks and stuff. And, he's very busy. And Bruce is, I should say Dr. Bruce, that's the respect I owe him. He's amazing. He's just so simple and it's the best example of a person that I have in the reef hobby is Bruce Carlson.
Well, I tried to reach out to him to get him be a guest on the show. I had trouble contacting him, so maybe I should get his contact info from you later or something. I don't know, but at least I had Charles on. At least I had Charles on.
Yeah, maybe Charles can talk to him. It would be easier.
Yeah, for sure. I'll get all three of you guys on at the same time.
I love Bruce Carlson. Oh, man, I love that guy very much. And Charles, I respect both of them. Not because they are famous people, because I respect the other people there. Karen Burton is famous now. She wasn't famous back in the day. And I used to tell her, you got to write stuff, man. Karen Burton, Jerry Crow, I own them. They're very good people. And I just, Norton Chain too, Kelly from the aquarium. I love them all.
Just a couple of comments that I'm seeing in the chat here. Ryan Thompson, gotta love Alex and being real about everything. Greg Carroll, I love his passion. Blue Reef, hobby became a money hungry. I think it was talking about, referring to what we're talking about with the name game. Ryan Thompson, bring on the lighting! Exclamation point. It is a topic that needs serious attention right now. Wish I could stay around, but the time to head home. We'll catch it later. And yeah. So let me just play a little video of your tank, and why don't you kind of, it's playing right now, so why don't you kind of talk us through the system. So there's some limitations about having a reef tank in Hawaii, right?
Yeah, we were allowed when we were able to collect with the permit. We had a permit. They had two types of permits: the recreational permit and the commercial permit. I had both of them because I used to work with the importer. So I used to collect all kinds of, I could collect anything I wanted to import, and we used to write down and give to the government, send to the government. The aquarium hobbyist permit, we can collect fishes in the tide pools and stuff. We just can't use those long nets and very little holes nets, with the little holes. They have a limit for the holes, the size of the hole or the net. But if you want to collect them in a tide pools and zoantids, you can collect, but you can't collect the live rock. You have to scrape them out of the rock, and you're allowed to collect soft corals too. So we have a Sarcotelea edmondsoni. It's a soft coral that I like, and I have in my aquarium. But they become pests too. Sarcotelea becomes a pest in the aquarium. But I still like it because that's all I have. So in zoantids, we can collect zoantids and palito. And, by the way, there's a lot of misleading in zoantid. The cartoon names are just ridiculous, to say the least. It's just ridiculous. They call poly a zoantid species. So that kind of stuff makes me sad. It's just like the regression is so, it pierced my heart. I'm like, how can these people, when I was a kid, when I was in my 20s, I was like, oh man, this is just the beginning. In the 90s, this is just the beginning. We're going to go further than this. We're going to understand much more than this. We're going to have better metal halides, better systems, better pumps. We do have better pumps in a way, but the lighting nowadays is regressing. Is regressing. The cartoon names, I get it. It's mostly for commercial purposes. I don't agree because of the size of the colonies. They can call frags. Frags are still colonies, anyways. The frags are so tiny sometimes. It's just about the money. When I give my zoanthids away, when they reproduce a lot and I have to give away, or I collect like bunches of 8, 10 zoanthids, and even if I sell, I charge by the polyp, but I sell 10. I mean, I offer 10, 8, 5, the minimum. They sell one polyp.
I know.
$300, whatever. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. It has to stop. People have to. Well, it won't stop. No, it's not only because Alex Correa is saying, but I truly believe that if we want to grow in this hobby, we have to respect the animals. The animals have to come first. I mean, I believe the people have to come first. We have to love each other, but we have to know that the animals that we keep, they're wild animals. We bring them from the ocean, and we are reproducing them in captivity, but we are not offering the best. In most cases, money is in front of the health of the animals. That's what I see, and in most cases.
Yeah, it's the marketing has really kind of taken over and driven a lot of that in terms of the name game, and yeah, I mean, I've certainly witnessed it over time. I've been in the hobby for 25 plus years. Maybe it's close to 30 years. And, back when I first got into SPS, there were certainly some corals that were catching everybody's attention, like the Oregon Blue Tort, the Tyree Purple Monster. I think so. There was a lot of, and I think some folks will debate the actual Tyree name in front of the Purple Monster, but that's a whole nother discussion.
We can call that the beginning of the end, or whatever.
So it's something that I guess it's a problem on both sides, because you've got the coral vendors that are participating in that sort of thing, that are doing that sort of thing, and you've got the folks out there that are buying the corals that are actually paying the money. It's just kind of like how you got to stop it. Maybe there needs to be I don't know. It's so embedded now in the hobby. It's a tough thing to shed, I think, at this point in time.
I think nothing is impossible for those who wanted to do it. If we get together and forget about money, like in the sense of getting the little stuff for that much money, and try to, like, the whatever they do for money, we understand that part. They need to make money, okay? The business is business, but we still have living organisms in the business. So we should little by little try to change that. The way to change that today would be, for example, Jake Adams, make a video talking about the scientific names, put the pictures, and try to put that back into the, on the online, so people can begin to understand a little bit. If he does that, and maybe 4 more people do that kind of stuff, they will change. Put on a website, scientific name. If put the scientific name underneath the cartoon name, and maybe in 2 years remove the cartoon name. Let's see what happens. Put numbers instead of names.
Go ahead. I was going to say, I think another thing that I don't know if it's decreased in popularity. I don't have any statistics to back it up, but reef clubs. I think those types of places to get together. There's a lot of, and I saw Greg Carroll make this comment that many people do still trade, and I think you see a lot of that going on in the reef clubs when they have like their monthly meetings and they get together and they bring a speaker. And at least before COVID hit, now I think a lot of that's done via Zoom, but perhaps that'll change sooner rather than later. But then you have like a frag swap, a true frag swap, which is swapping of corals without money exchanging hands. You know,
this is the what I call the roots of the hobby. The essence of the hobby is to exchange. Listen, if we exchange, I can't exchange because I don't have acres, man. You guys gotta grow them for me. But if the hobbyists exchange the corals, less corals will be collected to chop, and the money, the prices will be dropping. The more we exchange, but you know this. If we allow this wheel to grow, this snowball to grow more, it's going to be worse every day. It's going to be worse every day. If the real information is not going through the channels, it's going to be a snowball and it's going to destroy the whole thing. And it will destroy. It will destroy because it's destroying right now. In my point of view, I mean, I grew up fragging. I was probably working with the first frags in the United States. Before they fragged to commercialize, I was doing in the coral farm here at the aquarium. And I was like, oh man, I love this so much. And I respect so much the corals to people, you know, to the point that sometimes I used to publish back then. We got to respect the corals, the organisms that we have in the aquarium. And you got to respect Aptasia. I said, no. That's not the way it should be. You know, it's not about Aptasia, man. It's about respecting it in terms of spreading the message of the respect we have for nature. Because, you know, when you work with biologists, you worry about, you know, the law in Hawaii right now, not collecting anything. A lot of people lost their jobs because of that. You know, it's because of the way the hobby goes. If they can prove that the corals are mistreated somehow, they will. It's a bad message, but that's the reality. There are a lot of people against us, against the hobbyists, against this hobby, and they will publish stuff, things like what's the minimum light for the health of the corals? What's the minimum? What's the perfect light? What's the best light? The minimum somebody can offer to a coral colony to sustain that in captivity. If they want to use that against us, they will win, in my opinion, and a lot of biologists' opinion. Because if you look into nature, we're not trying to reproduce it. I know it's a bad message, but that's reality. I'm not afraid to say that because so many people, sometimes they send me private messages and I see thanks that I'm like, oh man, how ugly, how the corals are struggling. And why should we offer those type of conditions? We have a lot of channels more than before. And why the information now is going, is getting poor, it's getting diluted. Why?
Well, you've got
you know?
social media. You've got anybody could start a YouTube channel and just talk about whatever they want to talk about. You've got people talking in the forums that might not be able to be backing it up with actual results. So you know, I think that's
Exactly.
a big issue these days. Is you've got a lot of misinformation being peddled out there by folks that don't have the success to back that up.
Well, I can't talk about that too, because when I go to the forum and I talk about stuff, I don't talk about scientific. I'm not a scientist. And what do I have to back up? What I see, what I experience, right? Experience is more than any scientific data. If you see anything in front of you working, you try to use science to justify that or to explain that. You don't use science to condemn something that's working perfectly, right? I think everybody would agree with that. But people come to me when I talk about metal halides, for example, people come to me and say, "Oh, but that LED has the perfect spectrum. What is perfect to you?" They bring the graphics from the manufacturer, graphics from other people, but in reality, if you compare, it's not the same. Plus, if you get graphics, spectrum charts from different sources of the same light, you will find them to be different too. They will show differently. Plus, there is another thing that people keep talking about. The spectrum, I've been saying this for a long time, okay? The sensors can see only what they are made to see. They can't see more than that. They will transfer information to the paper or to the screen. What you see, with the numbers you see, or spectrometer, anything, the sensors will read what they are made to read. They're not something spiritual. They will say everything that in reality, you know what I mean? They are made to transfer information the way they were made. They are not perfect too. Now, when you look at an aquarium and you see the perfect environment and the growth like you see in nature, that is what I want, in my opinion. When I go snorkeling and I see my zoas in the ocean, I want to reproduce that exactly. Coloration, growth, formation, colony formation, everything that you see in the ocean, if you can reproduce in the house, that's my goal. But that's not the message that has been spread lately. And
so, all right, man, let's get into the whole lighting discussion, and I'm going to put my moderator on alert here, because we had a very you had a very passionate discussion with Greg in the chat last week, and perhaps that'll happen again. I don't know, but let's keep it clean. Let's keep it.
I love you,
clean.
Greg.
It was all good.
I love all of
last week anyway, so I don't even know why I'm like saying this, but so last week we had a panel discussion about lighting. We had Tulio on and the Reef Beef dudes, Ben and Rich. It was a lot of fun talking about that stuff in terms of lighting. But you and I have had some conversations about lighting, and you mentioned to me that when we were talking about halides versus LEDs, that there are gaps in the spectrums for LEDs versus metal halides. Can you explain that to me in more detail in terms of what you meant by gaps in the spectrum for LEDs versus metal halides?
Okay. Physically speaking, in terms of watching, the LED, we have diodes. We have different diodes all over. Okay, when you transfer that light, even if you put a diffuser, that light will not be as uniform as a T5 light. Okay, first of all, if you are making an LED and putting a diffuser, you're not imitating the sky. You're imitating a T5. You're mimicking a T5 bulb, and that's what the LED manufacturers are doing lately. They're not imitating. They're not mimicking the sky. I've been saying about. Everybody knows that I like metal halides and T5s now. Okay, why? Because the T5 has a small diameter, and you can fit. We don't have too much VHOs anymore. We can't buy very easily, but they're still selling VHOs. But when you have a small tank like mine, 75 gallon, when you put a T5 and a good reflector, it will do a better job because of the room available, the surface area available over the tank. So I have four T5s, four ATI Blue Plus, and I have two 14K. Hamilton is I'm testing Hamilton right now, and I have two 250s, but I think it's too strong for my tank because of the par is more par than the 20K. But I'm testing and I'm loving it, See, I get lost. I have so many things in my mind to say. But when you, what I was talking about?
We're talking about gaps in the spectrum.
Yeah. When you have the LEDs, okay? Physically looking at the LEDs, you know already there is beams there, beams of light. And Tulio have been talking about that. Even if you put a diffuser, you still have a lot of different colors to project that light to your system, okay? That is not as if you had a T5 system running with a totally uniform light. Plus, when you look at the T5s, if you put an ATI sun power in front of you and you turn on, you will see how bright it is. Each of those reflectors, they are made to connect the light really, like even if you have different spectrums, they blend perfectly. The higher you put the fixture, the more blend it will be. It's just like LEDs, but LEDs are different in nature. There's no comparison. LEDs don't have UV, the UV that the T5 has. The T5 naturally has UV. If you put a panel with the LEDs and you put 2 UV, do you think it's going to be the same thing? Come on, man. It's not going to be the same thing as you have the whole distributed UV from the light. And that's the nature of the bulb. That's the nature of the physics involved. Okay, the UV from the T5 will bounce on the reflector, will bounce everywhere. And it's uniform. It's not like 2, 3 UV over here. Are you kidding me? This is a joke. It is a joke. Ask the kids if you don't believe me. Ask your kids, 5 years old. Come here. Look at that. Look at the Radeon. What do you think? Christmas lights? That's what they tell me. When I go to the store and see, this is Christmas lights with lenses. And people don't like when I say that. It's kind of an aggressive way to say, but kids have told me that. You know, I tell people, when you don't believe me, you call your grandma. Your grandma will tell you the truth. Somebody that never saw aquariums in their lives or don't even pay attention to lighting on a reef aquarium, ask them. You know, and another thing about the gaps, scientifically speaking, because, well, I can't prove that, but I've told like twice, people that used to work with LEDs, when they make the spectrum, they have to smooth the spectrum. That's true for any lighting, but especially LED. The LED has a spectrum, like really, you know, the lines. I prefer, because I'm not a scientist, I prefer to tell people to look into the real life. What's the results? They are all different. Metal halides, T5s, and LEDs. They have different results. Nobody can contest it. And nobody can say they don't have different results. They are just like the same, or one is better than the other. Now, if you tell me that LED is better than the metal halide, you are joking. You are joking. There's no comparison. After all what Tulio has been said about lighting all these years, if you tell me, they ignore Tulio. They ignore Tulio. When I talk to people and I want to tell people, listen, what do you have to say about what Tulio de l'Aquila is saying about metal halides? He's an LED manufacturer. He makes LEDs. He's the first. I think he would be feeling guilty to introduce LEDs in the hobby. I don't know. Maybe he is. He is talking very good about metal halides. People come to me and say, "Oh, they're not going to be available. They're not going to be available." That's a lie. Rumors. A lot of rumors in the hobby. They're not going to be they're not going to be available. Radiums are not being produced. It's things for the past. Greg just said that, you know, it's not evolving. It is evolving. They have ceramic metal halides right now going on. You know, they have ceramics metal halides. Some of the guys are trying ceramic metal halides. Go to the forum, go reef to reef, and try to look.
Oh, go ahead. I was just gonna mention a couple things in the chat.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
You spurred on some pretty good chat discussion here, Alex. Oh, and by the way, if you folks are liking this content, please hit that like button. Smash that like button so we get more people that will tune into this live stream. So we got close to 60 viewers right now and only 27 likes. So get to it, folks. So Jeff says T5s have very little UV emissions unless specially designed with quartz envelopes.
Yes.
Do you agree with that? Okay. And
I agree, of course. Yeah, little. Yeah.
Greg is saying, although Tully is a great resource for lighting, I have always kept. I always keep in mind that he sells LED product that is very limited. G. Sander, 43 years in the hobby, and the best days are over, in my opinion. I've had all the lighting over the years, and best my tanks ran metal halides, VHOs, or metal halides / T5s. And Aquarius, I can't pronounce this. Aquarismo de Result. Maybe you can pronounce it there, Alex. You're not looking at the...
Aquarismo de resultado.
Yeah, there you go. Every LED has its unique spectrum, but you can mix many LEDs, and using a diffuser, you can get good results. But I prefer T5, then metal halides, and last for LEDs. Yeah. Please take a moment to leave the chat. Yep. So, listen, have what else? You mentioned UV, and you also mentioned to me that LED manufacturers are trying to mimic the UV and infrared parts of the spectrum for halides. And when you mimic something, you typically are not going to be able to match what you are mimicking. Is that do I have that correct?
Well, Orfac published about a paper, not a paper, but about a German guy that was trying to find out more about infrared radiation for corals. Okay, so if you go to Orfac website, the website, Orfac's website, you will see they're talking about the infrared and ultraviolet importance for corals. We know about UV long ago, 260 nanometers, and so since Charles' book came out, we know that. But the infrared was also important, and I've been saying that since 2012. Okay, I've been me, and there is another guy at Reef to Reef, JDA. I love that guy. That guy is, you know, there are some of the guys, some of the old folks. I learn a lot with them because I don't know everything. I'm isolated. You guys have to understand, I'm isolated in an island.
You're stuck on a big
and I'm
rock.
not allowed to have a reef in the house. I just love this too much, but I'm not allowed to have a reef in the house. So my hands-on is basically at the Waikiki Aquarium, okay? And I appreciate that. Anyways, some of these guys, JDA brought up the Emerson's effect, which is a boost on the photosynthesis. After, if you have the red light about 680 nanometers and a plus red light in conjunction, happening at the same time. For example, they tested a 700 nanometer peak with the 680 nanometer peak, and the boost of photosynthesis went after that. So they noticed that there is a boost in photosynthesis if they use the infrared radiation in conjunction, together with the 680 red. That alone shows that we, by observing the metal halide systems, we understand now that the photosynthesis is very important for the boost of photosynthesis in that region. That's why Orfac decided to make this new diode and introduce the infrared. Is that the best light we can offer to the corals? No, because we have mirror halide. Period.
Period. In
I
a
can
sentence.
say better than that. Is that the best light you can offer to the corals if you choose to use LEDs? In my opinion, yes.
So thanks to John Reed from Vermont for the super chat. Thank you, John. And his comment is, I'm going to do the best to pronounce this because I think it's in Portuguese. E Quero stream on Portuguese. Is that
I don't
close
know
at all to what?
I don't know. I know the other guy. I don't know this one. I don't know. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. So, dude, let me ask you if you believe, you know, and others believe that metal halides T5s are superior in terms of growing, coloring up corals versus LEDs, why do you think there are so many coral farms out there that are using strictly LEDs to grow their corals?
Because they think they get the rumors that it's not going to exist anymore. They get the companies that come to them. I'm sorry, that's what I think, and that's what I see through videos and stuff. The companies come and offer LEDs to promote their LEDs, and that's see. I'm not condemning those companies. I'm just saying that that's the reality. Then when they come and bring LEDs to the most famous guy. Who is the most famous? By the way, last time you said Tulio is the guru of lighting. He's not. He's the expert. The guru of lighting came from India, and that's Dr. Sanjay Joshi.
Yeah, I had Sanjay on last fall, and I hope to have him on again this year. Extremely knowledgeable and great guy.
Yeah, talking about Sanjay. He has. I've been publishing. I've been bugging him on Facebook. He didn't know it was me. Now he can see my face. I've been telling him, just put those metal halides back, man. Just put those metal halides. Yes,
and put
those metal halides back, because that poritis will become yellow again. These corals are dull, and they're not looking good. Even though that brass is spitting gravel on them and stuff, I bet you it would be much better with those metal halides, and he knows that. He actually told you the other day, right? For my tank, he said, a big tank, metal halide is still the best. Let me tell you something. Quality and application, they go together. If you have a 150-gallon tank, 120-gallon tank, you have to put more T5s for the application for the tank than a 20-gallon in wattage, in size, right? You have to adapt. If you have a metal halide for my tank, would be like two 150-watt metal halides, right? The quality is there. For his tank, he needs 3 metal halides. He needs 400 metal halides for his tank, right? Application. It's not only for big tanks. It's for small tanks too.
Yeah, you know, Greg makes a point.
Hey, we had 50-gallon tanks.
Yeah, you know, Greg.
Application is everything.
Greg brings up a point about you know, the heat and all that stuff from the metal halides, and you know, I think that's a it's a concern for, I think, for some folks that you know, are in areas where they're not you know, where they can get away without an aquarium chiller. You know, being in Vermont, I've got metal halides on my 187-gallon system. So I've got 2 over the display tank, and then I've got 2 frag tanks, and so I've got 2 halides over each of those frag tanks. And even today, when it was probably in the high 50s, low 60s, you know, my temperature was getting up over 80 degrees to like 81 degrees. But you know, so my fans kicked on, and you know, I think it's debatable though in terms of if it's more expensive versus LEDs in terms of electricity. I think, you know, when you weigh the cost of replacing metal halide bulbs, you know, over time, and you look at the wattage of you know, the LED fixtures versus the wattage that you have in the metal halide bulbs, it seems to be kind of like a wash, you know, in terms of the from the wattage perspective. So it's really kind of like you're getting down to the cost of the bulbs, and then you know, extra electricity you would be spending to chill the tank. So you know, it would be interesting to kind of make that comparison in terms of the true cost. I think over like we talked about last week, after 4 or 5 years, you're going to have to replace those LED fixtures because they will lose, you know, their intensity at that point in time. You know, with metal halides, you don't have to worry about that if you don't mind, you know, having stuff that, you know, kind of is a little old and dusty. I mean, I still have Luminarc reflectors that are 20 years old that are on over, you know, one of my frag tanks. And all I've been doing is just changing out bulbs of those things. But again, it's not over display tanks. I don't care about the way it looks, even though it looks like crap, because it's just like this old, bulky, gigantic reflector, and that's not going to look good.
It's the best.
Yeah,
it's the best.
Yep.
It's the best. A lot of distribution, just like the Cozumel from Hamilton. A lot of distribution, even though you use a smaller bulb or in a small system. I mean, small wattage. Like if you change from 400 to 250 or 150, 175, if the tank is short and stuff, this distribution for that fixture is amazing. So, well, you said a lot of stuff, and I had everything in mind. Now I get all confused.
I have something else to say, and I don't mean to confuse you even more. But what are your thoughts in terms of the new panel style lights out there, like the Neptune skylights and the Philips Coral Care? Do you think that's a step in the right direction because they're trying to you know, do a better job of blending or coverage?
Okay, let's talk about the first. Let's talk about the heat issue for the metal halides. Okay, heat issue. I live in Hawaii, and then when I had my aquarium, my 250 watt over my 75 gallon. Over here is hot, man. It's real hot. My house was hot. I put a fan blowing between the water surface and the fixture, 10 inches from the water. The chiller almost never came on. When I had my T5, same thing. When I had my LEDs, same thing. Because over here, I need a chiller no matter what. Okay. All these excuses that people use, because if we look into the electricity, if you look into the heat, changing bulbs, are you guys kidding me? I'm talking to the whole world now. Are you guys kidding me? Changing a light bulb, your hand's gonna fall? It's once a year. The quality has to be more important than to offer to the whole year. You're offering the best quality light to the system, not only to the corals, to the system. You look at the coralline algae in my tank, you go like, what the heck? It's much better than any other LED. I mean, there's a lot of species, different species of coralline algae that will adapt to systems. They will grow. They will grow good. They will grow. But, you know, I can use T8s and T12s to grow them too. But when you put the metal halides, it's just like in the ocean. It's unbelievable. You see the white around the coralline algae growing on each other, and it's just sick, crazy. But, you know, these excuses, what I asked the people about when they talked about that, I said, what is your priority? Is your priority the best you can offer? The best quality? After all what Tulio has been said about metal halides and comparing them, they are ignoring, this hobby is ignoring what Tulio de l'Aquila is saying. He's the best person to say. If Alex Correa say that kind of stuff, they're going to laugh at me. Who is this guy? Just because he worked with these people? No, Tulio de l'Aquila is the one who introduced LEDs in the hobby. And he's the one who actually sells LEDs, makes them, and he's saying, basically, if you think I'm lying, go ahead and look at the videos. Watch the videos. Metal halides is a hard animal to beat. Metal halides is a hard animal to beat. And application, remember, don't think the Sanjay said, oh, just for big tanks. No. What about my tank? I'm not going to have it because it's only for big tanks. I have to have a lot of money to have a big tank, and I don't have that much money. So if I want a 20 gallon, I can put a 70 watts if they sell, if you find them. But because of what this hobby has been doing to the metal halides, Now, if you agree the metal halide is the best lighting and the best to mimic the sunlight, the sunlight, which Tulio also said that in one of the interviews. He actually said that, and I agree. And just by seeing my kids, we go snorkeling all the time. I said, how can I prove that this light is just like the sun, man? And they go, just look at it, the kids. Just look at it, Daddy. That's the way. Because that's the way we should. Science is just to back up the reality. Let me explain that. I want to tell you one thing. They just discovered, and they will make an apogee sensor. I was talking to Dana Ritter yesterday. They will make an apogee sensor now. They're making now a called EPAR, because they discovered that there's a part of the infrared that make a huge influence. The Emerson effect that I just said, that I just spoke about, that part of the infrared is very important for photosynthesis. Now everything is gonna change. You know what the part is gonna be? Not from 400 to 700, but to 750. Scientifically speaking, go to Apogee website and watch the video. EPAR. Watch the guy, the old man, and tell me if you believe him. Because if you don't believe me, you gotta believe him, right? I'm just a regular guy. I'm just a hobbyist. They love metal halides because of the results. I don't love metal halides because it's old and I'm old school or whatever title you want to give me. But I love what the results are. And I see, whatever I see is what I attest. I go like, I tried LEDs and it didn't work.
Oh, you did try LEDs?
It's not the same. Yes, I did. What's the best LED that you think? The panels. I agree. The panels are the best.
So the new like
Pucks
Neptune Sky.
Pucks are a joke. Yes, no. I had a lot of argument with the Sky guy.
Oh yeah, what was your point about the skylights?
It's just another panel, man. It's not, in my opinion. You know, they can say whatever they want. They can put a lot of graphics showing how they made it. The best LEDs in the world, the best LED fixtures in the world are the panels. They are the panels. Lani is one of the best in Europe.
They're
Philips,
expensive though, right? The Lani.
Very expensive. Yeah, a little bit. 4 centimeters by 4 centimeters, more than $1,000. Are you kidding me?
Right.
How many million dollars?
Super expensive.
That's another thing that I have to say. Why? For the sake of God, why people are spending that much money for lights, plastic lights, to replace the glass? When you want to drink water, you choose glass or plastic. You choose the glass. This is good.
Well, I like to drink my
glass.
beer out of the can, so I don't know how that figures in the discussion, but
they don't have aluminum LEDs yet.
So, if you had the option to use, well, I guess I already know the answer to this question, so maybe I shouldn't even ask it.
This is stainless steel.
Is
stainless steel.
Well, all right. If I had to put a gun to your head, which LED would you be using right now?
Orfat. Yeah, and don't kill me.
Well, I didn't catch that. Oh, don't
kill me, please.
I don't have a lot of knowledge about those guys, but I think some in the chat do have an opinion about those folks, and maybe we'll just leave it at that.
I think. Well, because of what they're doing,
lights.
And because of
right?
Yeah, the panel lights, and you got to spend a lot of money. Why would you spend money with those guys? You know, if you can buy, go to another. Oh, this is really important. Okay, people are saying, Jake Adams, you've been said. I left a comment there. They were talking about the Reef to Reef forum that I comment, and I explained to people, radium bulbs are not out of production. They are producing the bulbs. This is rumors. This is against the hobby. In my opinion, this is against the hobby. We have to be friends. We have to help each other. Metal halide has to be accepted, even though you think LEDs are growing, the production are growing, the the new technology, whatever you want to label this event that's going on for a while. Metal halides are still being sold. Hamilton sold so many fixtures and bulbs and everything. In January, they went out of stock a lot of stuff. Okay, everybody was going to Hamilton. Why? Because we don't have, Greg, we don't have the XMs anymore. We don't have those old stuff. We don't have fixtures like we used to have. We have Hamilton and Reef Brite, and I appreciate those two companies. Hamilton especially, I don't even know how they are still producing. They are producing metal halides like before. They have the Cebu system. They have the everything they had before. They have only the B Mini. They don't have the small one, and I'm so sorry they don't have that one, because we could light a small tank with that B Mini, 70 watts or 150 watts. You know, we have all types of fixtures available. It went out of stock. They're producing right now. What's going on with this market promoting LEDs? Radeon came with the comparison with metal halides and T5s with that little Apple-looking Coral Lab, which is from them, saying that, oh yeah, we have this is better than LEDs. Listen, application is everything. I know that Tulio can't say stuff about that because he's friends of them. I'm not friend of anybody. I'm friend with the truth. And I try to express myself the way I am. Listen, for that application, if they put the Radeons very high from the water in a facility like that, it works. Are you going to do that in your aquarium? Are you going to do that in your aquarium? You're going to have a little water, like 20 inches of water or 24 inches, whatever they had, and put 2 feet from it. You're going to do that. That application is not the same application. So that application should not sell the fixture, at least to the hobbyists. Application is everything, right? So if they sell their fixture showing, proving metal halide, listen, that metal halide was far from the water. Are you going to use the metal halide that far from the water? No. Application is everything. The T5 fixture is very far, 2 feet from the water surface. It was just a little bit of water, guys. That application works for that facility, not for your aquarium. And then, again, everybody, oh my God, the metal halide, poor metal halide. The Radeons are much better. Do that in your system and you're going to burn your corals in no time. Listen, we have to understand that the facts, the reality of lighting is what it is. When we see, if they put in a paper, a nice paper, and they publish, everybody swallow that like nothing, like an ice cream, like, oh man, this is so good, I'm gonna buy them. They made a lot of money. I'm not blaming them. That's their job, right? That's their job, man. Good job, guys. You did very good. You are the best in selling. Okay, Coral Lab. Listen to this name. Oh man, I feel good. I'm gonna buy it. And they are shiny. They are shiny. Listen, plastic fixtures with plastic bulbs and with fans on top. Is that the best way you're gonna put in your? You're gonna light your tank?
Yeah.
I don't think so. It's not the best way. It's not the best way. Applications, everything.
I hear you, man.
But, you got.
There's a lot of people are, in the chat are very, passionate one way or the other about.
Either they hate them or
they love the metal halides or they hate them, but it's it's cool. It's great to have options in this hobby, and that's what makes it a lot of fun. There's no cookie cutter way to do, in terms of the lighting. So hey,
I'm not sponsored. I'm not sponsored by anybody. If Hamilton comes to me and say, I'm going to sponsor you, I'm going to say, no, I can't. Because otherwise I'm not going to be able to tell the truth. I don't live by doing this kind of stuff. I have a regular job. I'm a hard worker. I'm a hobbyist. I'm the consumer. And as a humor, I have analyzing and debating and try to, it's my right. And this is like this sky is just another lead. You want to compare lead with lead is okay, but don't compare with metal halides. My problem with Skype is not, Mark Levison. If he got for free or whatever they were talking in the comment, I love him very much. I know him for a long time. Melev, I love you. And he knows I talked to him the other day. I call him to tell him I love him. And my deal is not with him. It's the propaganda from lads. They are destroying this hobby, in my opinion, doing that. You want to make a good lad, man, but compare to the next door lad that you have. Don't try to compare to metal halides. This is old. This is ridiculous. And whoever thinks I'm a troll, Jake Adams was talking about that the other day. I'm not, man. And you know that. You go look at your videos.
Alex, you're far from a troll. All right, man. Let's switch topics here. We're
Yes.
we're about 5 after 8 o'clock here my time, and so we've been talking about lighting for a while. Let's talk about live rock versus dry rock. This is another favorite topic I like to talk about. What are your? I already know the answer to this. What are your thoughts on using dry rock versus live rock?
Well, it's basically very simple. Okay, when you have the problems, I saw Mike Paletta talking about, I think the Germans or Europe. Somebody told him about that was the reason why, because you use dead rocks. It's not exactly that. If you use dead rock, but you're using the right way and the right rock, you're not going to have problems. Okay, it's just if you get a junk rock or if you have something in the system, sometimes they have other stuff going on in the system and they blame the dry rock. It's not exactly the dry rock is the problem. I mean, we have different kind of dry rock, macro rocks, or whatever they have there in the mainland. I've seen them here. They sell at the store. I don't think there's any major problem with that. But if they can have what we call, some substances besides aragonite, dolomite, stuff like that. They could pollute the system somehow, but I think every dead rock should be cured first, just to prevent anything like that. Now, what I think people do, I'm not sure about that because everybody's different. But when they have problems, they just spill some water on the rock and everything is cool and throw the rock there. That's not the way I would do. I would just leave the rock curing for maybe a month or two in the fresh water, changing the water, removing the excess of anything bad that could have. We cannot prove if anything could be there to provoke. Like, I don't think phosphates would be binded to the rock because they are mined rocks. But I don't know. I'm not a scientist. But the way I do my rocks, because we can't collect live rock.
So do you have to use dry rock to start it?
We have to use coral, crushed coral, or whatever we can buy, or we can collect sand. Collect sand 1 pound per person per day. That's the law. And we go with the family, and we collect the sand, 1 pound per person per day. Even if we have to go multiple times.
On that sand?
Yeah, can. If it's dry, yes. If it's dry, we can. If it's on the beach and dry, we can get the rock. There's no problem. It's totally legal to do that as long as we do 1 pound per person per day.
So Holly, you mean to tell me if you want 100 pounds of sand, you gotta do that. You gotta get like 100 of your friends together on that day, or you gotta.
Yes. Or go multiple times. That's ridiculous, but that's the way it is. I mean, this is to prevent people to come and sell sand. It makes it difficult for the person. It's easier to be caught collecting a lot of sand in a particular beach or something some of the beaches here, they have beautiful sand. So they could use that and sell at the stores if there was no law. That's what I think about it. So that's a way to prevent an explosion of, over collecting
so you
sand.
can even
and,
collect black sand?
Yeah, but we don't have black sand here in the island.
Yeah.
We have in the Big Island
Yeah.
in Hawaii. We have grain sand here sometimes some of the spots, and that's a different type of sand, but it's not really good. The best sand for aquariums is basically aragonite sand or crushed coral, in my opinion. And the rocks that they sell there in the mainland, I believe they are aragonite or dolomite or something like that, calcium carbonate. So I don't think most of the rocks are okay to be used. We have some rocks here at the aquarium that we used from the mainland, and I don't see much problem with that. Other problems in the aquarium are attributed to the water system, the water filtration. Even the water filtration, you can have problems filtering wrongly, in the wrong way. So I think when you use cement, for example, I use cement, white cement, Portland #1. That's the one I use, and I cure for 60 days. After I finish all the rocks, I make the concrete with aragonite sand. I buy from Carib Sea, and I make with the aragonite, because the aragonite the crystallization is different, and it will release some of the benefits we have. The aragonite has some benefits to the system. It will not maintain alkalinity, of course, but will be better than not having the aragonite. So I prefer to use aragonite. I use coral sand too, many times. It doesn't really matter, but as long as you cure the rocks in fresh water for 60 days, you should be good to go. And the pH goes up to 11, 12 for the first day if you allow the rocks to release all the calcitic properties of the cement. And after that, you change the water every day or every other day, and you will measure the pH of the water, and everything's going to be fine. Now, when you guys talk about problems, having the problem, oh, my aquarium was junk, I had to redo the whole thing, it's probably because you didn't cure the rocks.
Explain what you define as curing the rocks. Are you essentially putting them in a Rubbermaid, bucket or tub, and putting a little fish food in there, every day? Or
no, no. Curing the rock is simply removing the calcitic or anything else. In the case of the natural mined rock, you put the rock in the fresh water in a container and let it soak. Let the air come out of the holes. Let it soak with the fresh water. That fresh water will remove any excess of contaminants or anything, earthly contaminants.
Are you talking about fresh water or fresh salt water?
Fresh water, tap water. Yeah, tap water. We don't have to go too crazy about it. It's just like put the rock there, change the 100% of the water. Water the plants with the water, if that's the case. Water the plants. That's how I do here. I remove the whole thing, and I do when I make my rocks, when I want to make a new system, I make all the rocks and I cure at the same time, so I can save water that way. And you can turn off the sprinklers, and you can use the water to water the whole all the plants you have. With a pump or something, connect the pump to the hose and water the plants, so you don't waste that water. And then you fill up again. Some people, when they make plugs, for example, with concrete, they put in the toilet, the toilet tank, and every time you flush, you're changing that water. Problem is, you're putting that stuff on inside the drain too, so there might be some. The caustic properties of the concrete could, in some cases, I don't know if they could damage the pipe or something. I never did that before, but that's how people do. They save water that way. So when you finish after 60 days, you look at check the pH. It should be between 8.0 and 8.2.
I'm showing your pH monitor.
Yeah. So yeah, that's 9.6 if I'm not wrong. Yeah, that was probably the second day or the third day. Normally, when you put the rocks, you're not gonna measure the pH because you still have a 24-hour period to notice how much the pH will be, growing, or how much the pH will change. So after 24 hours, you check, you'll see the pH is gonna go sky high with the concrete. After all that, 60 days, you put the rocks in the system, okay? In the salt water. I don't put animals.
So
I don't put any animals.
Freshly made salt water, you put that rock after 60 days into the freshly made salt water.
Well, after 60 days of curing, the curing process of removing all the calcic properties of the cement, I put in the salt water. And then I'm going to adapt that rock to the salt water and measure the pH too. When the thing stabilizes, you put the live sand. That's how I do. I grab some live sand from another system or from a little bit from the beach, and I put in there. And then I change with natural seawater. In my case, I have access to natural seawater. In your case, on the mainland, you can get water from another system.
So you're using
clean water.
Established seawater with the biological bed already kind of like in place to kind of seed that rock.
Yeah, no, to mix with the initial water that I mixed, like the salt, the artificial water, the artificial salt water, and then I start to add the bacteria from the water from established system is the best thing to introduce bacteria. Okay, now the difference between artificial live rock and natural live rock, you can't compare the formation of the structure of the natural seawater with the commercialized mined dry rock, because they are just different in structure. The natural live rock comes with a lot of life too, but inside that rock has bad and good bacteria, no matter what. There will be Artesia in it, okay? There will be a lot of junk. So what I do, I cannot collect live rock. Even if I could, listen what I do. I go to the reef. You can do this with the aquarium. I can do this if I set up another aquarium. I can get from my aquarium now. I scrape the coralline algae from the pumps, and I introduce the coralline algae in the new system.
We're showing that picture right now, Alex.
You have to do this slowly through the weeks, through the months. It has to be a slow process. You can't just throw the thing there and think, oh, everything is cool. I understand that some people preach that we can have a coral in the system without live rock, without anything. In the case of making live rock, this is what I recommend because of the process of making it suitable for the life that you want to do, the higher life, let's put this way, the corals and the fish, because first you have to settle the bacteria and make it stable. So when you introduce the bacteria, you can introduce the bottle bacteria if you want to. I prefer from the system because, listen, when you have a system made only with bottle bacteria, at one point after many months and years, you will actually have a lot of bacteria from other systems because you will introduce corals from there. And that's what makes your aquarium rich. The system is rich in bacteria because of the other systems. You bring one little coral, you bring that bacteria inside your system. Even if you dip, you still get some. You will introduce some good bacteria and bad bacteria too. Every system has both of them, unfortunately. And after a while, you will see, like in my case, when I set up a tank and I use natural seawater, the bacteria is already there. It's like instant. And I put live sand, it's already there. Only the rocks are dead. Guess what? Bacteria from the sand will attach to the rock like no time. And the bacteria in the water will establish much faster. I can turn on the lights, even made lights, guys. I can turn on the lights in a week, and everything is gonna be great. The algae cycle is gonna come because it comes from the ocean. In your case, all the algae that is introduced in your system that you remove the water and seeded that new system, then the whatever algae you have, or whatever bacteria you have, you're going to introduce there, and it's going to be very similar. But another thing that people have to understand, you have to wait for the algae cycle to go, and then when the algae cycle finishes, you will start to see the coralline algae. If you use artificial, if you use natural seawater and natural sand, live sand, it takes about 4 months for me to see the coralline algae. Only if you use natural, because it's like almost 100%, well, basically 100% of natural seawater in the system. It goes much faster. The amount of bacteria is like, it's perfect.
So what do you think, why do you think most people have issues with dry rock? Do you think it's just the lack of patience? Do you think that they kind of panic at certain points in time when they get into that ugly phase and just start throwing the kitchen sink at it? Do you think you know, it's just not having enough biodiversity and adding enough you know, good bacteria to the tank at that early stage?
Okay, I'm going to ask you a question. Can you please define what's wrong with the what happens? Why they think there is something wrong? Can you please define that? Because I don't want to listen to you and analyze that part.
You know, it could be dinos, a dino outbreak. It could be diatoms. It could be cyano. It could be corals are just dying for some reason, you know, at an early stage.
Okay. Basically speaking, that's what it is, right? That's what I said. The algae cycle, all this is part of the algae cycle. You have to wait until the algae cycle stabilizes, and then you introduce the corals. The reason why that happened is basically because they introduced the corals within the same period of the algae cycle happening, and that's because of what the old school guys learned with Alf Nielsen. That's the basics of reef keeping. But nowadays people want to go faster. They think because the bacteria is in the bottle, it's going to be a magic bottle. No, it's not. It's not. It's actually longer if you don't introduce more. That's why Mike Paletta said very well about that when he said that he introduced a lot of bacteria from all kinds of bottles that he could find. And probably the German guys told him that, or in Europe, whoever said. And that's why, because diversity is what brings equilibrium, the balance of the system in bacteria. Talking about bacteria it's mostly the fight for the stronger, or I don't know how to express myself saying that, but it's the diversity will be better in the beginning than later on. If you introduce any good bacteria after a long time, and you don't have a balanced system, the competition can bring some disturbances. And then you see algae. Cyanobacteria is a normal thing. Remember Sanjay Joshi saying that? I love when he says that. Oh, I don't care about cyano. It comes and goes.
Yeah, same here.
Yes. You go to the reef. Yes, you go to the reef, it comes and goes too.
I have it.
Yes.
I have it too. I have it in my established tank that's 5 years old, or however, 4 years old. I've got some patches of cyano in the back. It's not really on the rock because mostly there's corals on the rock. So I don't care if it's in the back. I don't really see it too often. It's because there's lower flow back there, and I'm sure the detritus is settling down there. Every now and then I'll siphon it out. You know, but it's not too much of an eyesore. But I think that's just something that you gotta you know, expect. Should I hit it with Chemi Clean? I guess I could, but I think that would throw something else out of whack. I think
Yes, chemicals in a reef aquarium just they don't belong in a reef aquarium. It's patient. If you give time to it, I'm giving time to my system. My system is terrible right now. After that bomb that I had with the chiller. See, guess what, Sanjay? I'm not gonna change the metal headlights because of the chiller.
we were talking before. We were talking
I'm not
about
gonna
before
turn
the
on.
show. You guys had a power outage or something. The chiller went on. The chiller went crazy when your
Yeah.
power went back on, and it chilled your tank down to 53 degrees or something. You told me 58 degrees,
58,
and you lost a lot of
58. I
stuff.
called JBJ and they said because I didn't have because the chiller is connected directly to the plug to the outlet, and they told me to connect to a power surge or whatever to make sure that the chiller wouldn't go crazy if the electricity comes too strong on the chiller. So that never happened before. I have a lot of power outage here, but at this time, in December, it hit me really bad. And when I saw my tank after 12 hours, it was like a fridge. It was like, oh my God, I lost. So I have only 4 fishes now, and I have only babies of the couple little colonies of zoanthids that, and the coralline algae is coming back now. Everything was bad. Everything was really bad. As soon as I saw it, like, I cannot believe I lost my fish and stuff. But electricity, we depend on electricity. I still don't have a backup. I tried to purchase one, but the shipping was so expensive, and I'm gonna have to purchase one backup battery for the system, at least for the pumps. But the chiller problem never happened before, and
All it takes is one time, right?
That was what takes only one time.
So, all right, man, it's we're getting close to 8:30 my time. Probably want to wrap it up pretty soon, but I got one last question for you. What are your thoughts in terms of coral foods like amino acids and feeding corals directly? Do you think it is necessary in an SPS dominant system?
Okay.
I have personally, I've dabbled in it. I've used aminos here and there. It's kind of caused algae issues for me, so I've never really been a dedicated amino acid user. I've used some coral foods. I've used the Reef Nutrition, Oyster Feast, and Phyto Feast, but I've never been a regular user of coral foods. What are your thoughts on that topic?
Okay. My experience with SPS, we don't feed the corals at the aquarium. We don't feed the corals. We have only light. There's 3 types of nutrition that goes to the corals: autotrophic, heterotrophic, and osmotrophic. Autotrophic is the most important for us, which is the light. That's why my passion for light, my passion to change this hobby for lighting, better lighting, quality lighting, spectrum, rich distribution, the best you can give. Don't think about money. Just give the best you can give. If you think about money, you're not thinking about your corals. It's either money or corals. And it's not that much money. You're not going to upgrade. You buy a mineral halide system, you're going to have forever.
Yeah, instead of buying a $2,000 frag, save some money there and invest it in some good equipment, right?
Grow your corals, share, sell, make it vivid, make it alive, beautiful. Profusely, grow them profusely, like Mike Paletta said one time, and I love that. I love that expression, profusely. Okay, 3 types. The light, which is the most important in the ocean and in your house. The feeding particles to the corals, it's another important. It happens in the reef more than in our aquariums because it's not so practical to have in our aquariums, and the absorption from the water, which is amino acid, which can be amino acids and trace elements and all that. So these 3, if you have the first one, 95% of the nutrition goes to the zooxanthellae through the lighting. If you have that settled, you won't need, that's a fact. Back in the day they did. Why can't we do today? You won't need to add anything to the system but light. and you can change the water and provide a little bit trace elements for the colors, for the pigmentation, the pigment formation and all that. And you will be able to grow the best corals of your life. Go look at the tank of the months from that time, and you will blow your mind. You go like, oh man, this guy is right. But today we have available amino acids. We have the particle food. Okay, what I do for my zoanthids, okay, I feed them particle food. I feed all kinds of powder and pellets if I can, small kind of pellets and stuff. I feed, I put amino acids in the system and trace elements too, but it's not what they recommend, because I know my lighting is more than enough. I just add just for the sake of adding it. And I see difference sometimes, especially amino acids. Some people don't see that difference. I don't know if SPS would make any difference, visual difference. But in my aquarium, if I add the trace elements, I see the reds stronger. I see the pigments, the protective pigments are basically the same, like the whites on the zoanthids, the protected pigments, and the blues, stuff like that. I don't see much change when I add those products, but the reds I see really, the iron makes them to make very nice. It's only if you have the touch to find them, because it doesn't make any huge difference. I mean, I was so many years without adding anything, and they are fine. With the good light, they are fine. So I don't think it's a must. I think it's a valid option, because scientifically speaking, even Julian Sprung sent me one time a paper about the amino acids, because I was talking to him about amino acids, and he sent me a paper, a very interesting paper. They absorb amino acids a lot if you allow. Again, in a set, when you do that in a lab, a controlled system, and it's different than our systems. Everything's different in our systems, right? But that's a proof that they can absorb the amino acids. So I do give, but very minimum drops. I don't even think they need too much. I agree with Mike Paletta when he says that when we add too much amino acids, the bad bacteria can feed, and we can have trouble, because I did have that too. I don't know if we can call Vibrio the bacteria that attacks the zoanthids, but when it attacks, man, they melt, and it's terrible. I had that in the past, and I stopped the amino acids, and I saw better results, and I did a water change, and I stopped amino acids for a while. So that's one of the reasons why I add a little bit only, just to give him a boost, or give him some treats, some McDonald's food.
All right, man. On that note, we're gonna end it. But Alex, man, any final words for the folks out there that are watching?
Yeah, final words. It's gonna be a lot about lighting. I wish that this hobby, the guys on top of this hobby, would allow, because right now, because of the sponsorships, because of the craziness that the LED is doing in the market, trying to prove their point, trying to prove they're better than the application is everything. They are not better. They are different. If you tell me you have LEDs because of saving electricity, which is a lie yourself. Better because of the spectrum, that's a lie. That's not even. Control. I agree. You want to control the lighting? I agree. Is that good for you? No, it's bad. So why you have LEDs?
And those are the
I wish the people, doesn't make sense. Doesn't make any sense. LEDs as supplementation, perfectly fine. I know I was playing the other day. People don't like when I say that, but I said the king of lights.
You get in trouble for saying that one, huh?
Yeah, I don't care. I'm not sponsored. You know, king of lights, metal halides. The queen. Every king needs a beautiful queen, and that's the T5s. But you still can have the Joker in the castle. They all fit in. So we can use as a supplementation. You wanted a pop? You can use as supplementation. And you can, if you really want to use LEDs, yes. Listen, I am not against you. You are an LED guy. You're watching me right now. Don't hate me, because I love you. You can use your LEDs. That's your option. Now, the only problem, this is the message. The only problem we have is condemning metal halide and say that's old technology or whatever. It's better in many ways. Okay, so it's not that old. It's not going to go anywhere. It's not going to go anywhere unless it goes. We can't spread rumors. So my message is, please, especially those guys who knows better, you know better. You shouldn't do this. Just accept the metal halide is not going anywhere, and it's still a very good way to light the corals, and we're going to be fine. I mean, everybody has their own way to do it.
Yeah,
the newbies are learning with
yeah, listen, I've been drinking the metal halide Kool-Aid,
and they're learning with.
I was gonna say, listen, I've been drinking the metal halide Kool-Aid for many years, and going with LEDs on the new tank, it's definitely a new frontier for me. But Alex, listen, man, thank you so much for taking the time and being a guest. You have a lot of you have a lot of passion. It comes through. You're a very knowledgeable guy, and we really appreciate that. So many thanks for being on the live stream. And I also want to thank Marine Depot for being a sponsor and supporting the show. Please keep in mind when you're shopping for your reef tank. I also want to thank all of you folks who watched tonight, as well as John Reed from Vermont there, who donated via the super chat. So my next live stream, you mentioned Mike Paletta's name a few times there, Alex. He's going to be on the show next week, June 10th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. In fact, I got a great lineup of guests coming. If you wanted to check out the schedule coming up here, just go to reefbum.com/rappin-with-reefbum, and you can see who's coming up. We've got Mike next week. I've got Scott Anderson from Mile High Reefers coming on. I've got Jake Adams coming back with Chris Meckley from ACI Aquaculture. They're going to be on the same show. That should be a good one. I've got David Saxby, who's going to be on the show.
Oh, yeah, nice.
Probably one of the most famous fish tanks in the world. I've got Jason Mack from Max Reef. He's the admin of the dinoflagellates support group. So I'll definitely be interested in that, because I'm dealing with a little outbreak myself. And John Coppolino, a.k.a. Cops, who's a very, very well-known hobbyist. So great lineup coming up in the next few weeks on Rappin With ReefBum. So tell your friends, spread the word, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel. But anyway, with that said, everybody be safe out there, and we will see you next time. Later.